Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. P.S. Just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a psychological empath, meditation master, dimensional healer, all the things to help you within this ascension. To learn more about me, visit me at edenjustbe.com. And let's get this party started. I get jammed up.
Let's move a little.
Yeah. Before we go.
Here we go.
Eden here with Just Be Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warrior Network. Hello, Enrica. Say, please.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Hello. It's so nice
Welcome
to be
today.
here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here with us today. And she knows I got three things to talk to you guys about before I introduce her and do her bio. And potentially we're going to talk about today active dreaming, alchemy, ascension, star families, cosmic ocean frequencies. There's going to be a lot. Okay, so to get into it, I've been asking you guys to try to do cash 1 to 3 times a week. And I always talk about this every week. And to keep me accountable, I will say what I have done. So I only did 1 time this week. So I need to pump it up a little bit, but I did groceries yesterday. Then I wanted to give you this little tidbit. If you have to use Western medicine, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who is in charge of billing. She's retired now. Yet she talks about every service that they give to you, they check a document in terms of charging you. So if they get your weight, there's a check and they'll charge you for that. If they get your blood pressure, there's a check and charge for that, including just asking you certain questions. So I would recommend, if you have to go into Western medicine, I would go into your appointment saying, you don't need to take my weight. I am here just for this reason. So to make it as simple as possible so you don't get that check. Oh, we're going to charge you $20 for taking your weight, $20 for doing your blood pressure. So that's a good thing to know. And then finally, all right, I'm going to keep announcing this Galactic Human Ascension Group meditation class that I will be hosting Saturday, January the 27th, this year, 2024, from 1 to 2:30 Eastern Standard Time via Zoom. There will be probably 2 to 3 meditations. I've never done a class quite like this before. I just know that ascended masters and galactical beings are going to be there. It just feels really great to me. There will probably be light language and toning and dimensional energy and all of that. So I'm very excited. Price, it is $45 and registration will be Eden at edenjustbe.com. So we got enough people already to go. So any additional, if it feels like it aligns with you, super duper. All right. We ready to go into this bio?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm going to have you say your last name because you say it so beautifully. So Enrica
Ferruzzi.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? Born in Rome, Italy. And you're still there right now? Are you there right now? Not still there.
I am there. I am here now.
Okay.
I am there.
Yes. Because did you live in the States?
Yes, I lived in the States. Yeah.
Okay. Which we talk about your dual cultural upbringing. We'll talk more about that in a second. Survived in a successful corporate career within the travel industry. Despite achievements, an inner yearning for meaning emerged. Okay, and again, y'all know I like to read this with drama. After 2 decades in the corporate world, she defied norms, resigning for a life attuned to her core. Her journey, marked by loss and restlessness, led her to rediscover ancient healing arts. Guided by spirit allies in restoring lost pieces of her soul, she became a teacher and healer, sharing timeless transformation practices over the past decade, and training individuals in unlocking healing potential through active dreaming, QiGong, light language, Angelic Earth Resonance. Resonance. Again, I want to bring that up because we had Jennifer on the show, which is how we met, and inspired visionary journeys. In 2023, she authored Beads of Light, soon to be published in early 2024, detailing her profound alignment, a testament to embracing change through empowering spiritual practices. Enrica continues with individuals worldwide through online sessions and hosts both virtual and in-person workshops and retreats. Her website is cosmicoceanfrequencies.com. I'm going to throw the sheet of paper down.
Thank you.
Very
Beautiful.
nice. Okay, we're going to talk about your book as well. Okay, so the first question I usually ask is, how did you become aware of this great awakening that was going on or is going on in our world?
Right. Thank you. That's a great question.
Yay.
As you've read, I was in the corporate world, so in about 2008, 2009 time frame, I began feeling some things that I couldn't describe, except, every person that I spoke to was just saying, you have anxiety and it's depression, or, all these things that I was always kind of a joyful, optimistic person, but just really accelerated. So if you think I speak fast now, just imagine how it was maybe 15 years ago. And so it's kind of this restlessness that I didn't know. Restlessness is hard to say, but anyways, I didn't realize what it was. Besides the fact that I was overworked, I was, in the travel industry. I worked in hospitality and in the leadership roles, managed teams, training, and very fast-paced environment. Multitasking, was one of those things back in the day that people were promoted for being, multitasker, which is so not natural, right? We know now,
Yes.
but I was the queen of multitasking. And so these, craziness, you can see my hair, how curly it is. And a couple of times I went straight. Anyways, so extreme stress. And I just experienced it with more anxiety, but I had to tone it down because I was in charge of people, in charge of departments and a leader. And then what happens at the end of 2009, my mother, who was originally from Oregon, and she, moved to Italy in 1970 because met my dad, movie story. He was a captain on ships, and they met in Portland, Oregon, and then she came here. So anyway, my mother was diagnosed with cancer at the end of 2009, and a few months later, we lost her. So it was very sudden, and one of those events, of course, for me, it was a huge loss. And at that time, having already extreme anxiety, I didn't know how to, what was going on. And then this event of mom, early 2010.
So how old was she? I'm assuming she was
62.
62. Okay.
So quite young, yeah. And then, it was one of those things that was too late. It was already too late. And I was going through, as anybody would, like extremes, ups and downs. And I've never been an extreme type person, but I didn't know how to deal with a loss this big. And I was in the States. I left Italy when I was 19. I'm 48 now, and I just returned early last year to Italy, but I lived most of my life outside of Italy, and 21 years in the States and 7 years in Mexico. So I was afar, and at that time, I could only see her twice, and it was terrible because it was too late. I couldn't bring her to the States because, in my mind, if I could bring her to the States, everything will be fine. And of course, we know that's not the case, right? And so that was the beginning for me to question everything, because in those moments, question everything as in nothing's really important, and it didn't go into the depression mode of it. I went more as in, whatever I thought was my problem, it's meaningless. Like, there are no problems. Like, whatever, what are you worried about? So I was kind of like the opposite of, like, you have no problems. And, I had to deal with people's problems at work and guests, in these 4 or 5 diamond resorts. And so kind of like the level of professionalism and standards, very high level, like structure. And that worked for a very long time for me. I really enjoyed it. I was really good, at it. until I couldn't sleep anymore. And I didn't know how to handle all the, information coming at me. And so I was the first one to say, I think I need to go see somebody. And so I went to see my doctor, and I said, I can't sleep. So I know I'm smart enough to know that that's not okay,
So,
so.
so in terms of not being able to sleep, was it like I slept 2 or 3 hours a night? Like I would stay up and I couldn't, like at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'd finally fall asleep. How did that look for you?
Right. Yes, thanks for asking that. I literally could not fall asleep. And when I could, only with the television on for a couple hours. So, but because my adrenaline and my, the only thing that was my pillar in life was my work. And I was very proud and very determined. My motto was, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
No problem. I know where I get it from.
Right.
My dad's very much like, everything's fine. And so you know, I kept going to gym and work. I looked really fit, everything, but inside I was dying. And so, but what happens? I mean, doctors were like, take this, take all this medication to help me sleep and to help me with whatever the label was, in those days. And I didn't care. I just needed to sleep so I could,
Yeah.
not yell at people at work, because I'm a nice person. And I just felt like, that's not me. I just can't feel this, restlessness. But of course, everything was a big tsunami coming at me because of my mom's passing was just a revolution. Like I had to change my way of thinking. What's important? What do I really want to do? And this this was coming already. Like the previous year or year and a half, I had been feeling like, there's got to be something else. Like at this level, and I'm doing all these gestures because there was a little frustration. And then I just want to clarify that I was never in a place where, oh, I hate my job. I'm not going. I'm
Right.
not. I was a leader. I was getting opportunities. I was. I had wonderful people around me, great leaders. I was so lucky. Yes, of course, very poor leaders as well. We deal with people, but I was successful. There was nothing missing
Mhm.
according to the structure, and so I couldn't figure it out what it was. Of course, I got some help with the sleep, and there are times where we need that. I think. But because I didn't have any tools, now I have all kinds of tools. But before I didn't have anything.
Mhm.
And then I met, because of the nature of my work, I could transfer to different properties. And at this time I was in Arizona, and I met this wonderful psychiatrist who also did MBSRs, mindfulness-based stress reduction, right? So then
Okay, so you met that person through your work or just somehow?
no, my therapist. She was my
Okay.
therapist, and she said, "Okay, it's time. You need to do this instead." And I'm like, "Okay, mindfulness? What? You pay attention? I don't know what." So it was really interesting because I was always like, very, very quick, and now all of a sudden you want me to just slow down.
Mhm.
Everything was too slow for me, so that was torture. But this is how what worked for me, like slap in the face, just like
Yeah.
that. And now it changed that's it. From then on, I was like trying to figure out who is talking as far as like, my thinking. Like, are these ideas mine? Like, I question everything. Like
Mhm.
what I think is success and a career and well-being and relationships. And so it's long story. I'm saying all kinds of things, but it came about from really my mom experience, and for me being so, I've always been kind of self-reliant. I'm fine. My family so far away had no idea. Um, excuse me, to then discover all these other things in the invisible world, like paying attention, and then I started researching different things. Buddhism and Taoism and different philosophies that were totally foreign for me, growing up in Italy, studying ancient Latin and Greek philosophy.
So did
Yeah.
you come from a Catholic background?
Well, let's say that everybody grows up with a Catholic background in Italy. I have to
I would
say,
think so.
okay, it is in the air. But no, actually, my mom was Latter-day Saint. She was Mormon. And
Okay.
so she was,
That's
quite a
different.
unique, yes, because she was the American in town, the horse lady, the Mormon with a small church in the 70s at that time. And
Mhm.
so I actually started going to church with her when I was very young. It just felt a lot lighter. Like I didn't know, and now I say lighter, but I'm like, oh, it's a little, it feels like literally brighter, than going to the mass. But I never really embraced that
Okay.
after, the early years.
The early okay, so when you started going to the mindfulness-based, psychiatrist, how long did it take you to realize that this travel job was not for you? How long
Right.
did you
So
switch off?
yeah, so in 2014, I moved to DC area working
Okay,
for the headquarters. And this had, so basically 4 or 5 years later,
okay.
I and that by this time I had explored different forms of Indian yoga and different forms of physical practice because I was very physical. But everything, and this was my own experience, whatever I was experiencing was incomplete. So like I could just go to the gym and get the same effect, or actually I was obsessed with cycling. So for me, any physical activity is still incomplete. Very valid, perfect, beautiful, but incomplete. And until I went to, I had been doing a lot of research, but I walked into this Qigong studio near where I lived.
Mhm.
And, um, you know, by this time I was already paying more attention to what my feeling was instead of just my thinking, how I felt about a place. And even though few words were exchanged and I met my teacher, who's this really petite Korean woman, and I was like, oh yeah, this feels really nice. And so I started practicing really qigong, and this lineage is based on the Sando tradition, which is very very ancient. But we hear qigong and people just think of tai chi, but it's so vast. There's so many things, including um, all the disciplines like acupuncture and reflexology and medical qigong and the healing arts. So for me, that was at that time, I didn't know how, and I just knew like I just need to do this, whatever that means. And really quickly, I started because really throughout the growing up and even in my career, whenever I learned something, I became the trainer. Like automatically people are like, train these people. And I wasn't the trainer, and then, at a leadership level, I was the trainer. So
Yeah.
soon my teacher's like, okay, you do this now. And I'm like, okay. And I started training and I was hungry for, I'm always studying, researching what is happening. And I'm so lucky because she is very scientific and I am as well. So I wanted to
Mm.
understand like when this happens, when we do this practice, what is really happening inside, I want to know. And so she could explain to us instructors the physiological changes and then really what's happening and then expand it to energy, spiritual concepts. And so for
Yeah.
me, that was like so cozy,
That
more
was great.
complete.
I know taking this really etherical potential, well, a very etherical thing and really honing it in because I'm like, okay, let's just go. I don't necessarily get into the nuts and bolts, let's call it. It's just like, hey, let's do it. I don't know why this it just feels good. So just yeah. And I feel that we should go this way. So let's just do it. So that's so wonderful that it checked all those boxes for you.
Right.
So, okay, so you were still doing your, so in DC, that's where the corporate office was for
Yes.
what was, who were you working for? Do you mind saying?
Uh, Marriott International.
Marriott. Okay.
Marriott.
All right. So
And
you
so
were,
at that time, to answer your question, so it
yeah.
took me 3 years
Okay.
fully to resign, to get to a point where I could resign. And I could have done it a month into my training, but I needed money. I needed to survive.
Mhm.
And so literally, I'm like, how, the planner that I am, I'm like, what do I do? What's going on here? What do And I really needed to be sure. But sometimes people are like, no, it's such a beautiful career. And I did. It was great. I mean, I don't have any regrets whatsoever. But I felt like, oh, this is nice and complete package, bow,
Mhm.
but this is something else. So I really learned to just accept the fact that, this is awesome and I chose this and I experienced everything I could, but this is not really who I am. Like this structure, even though I always just, and I hear myself like in the past, like I hear my past self. I can't speak English at this time. I'm just kidding. But I think of myself when I think back, like I do like structure and discipline, but in a different way. Now
Right.
it became different discipline because I have to be very disciplined with my own training and becoming clear and understanding instead of, I can't be all up here in the clouds with my
Right.
mind. I'm so spiritual. I'm sorry, I make fun of them because sometimes I'm like, no, but right now we have a body and I have to go to the post office. I have to be
Mhm.
functional, kind of
Mhm.
thing. So
Awesome.
everything was just a little too superficial.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to go into a different way. Like, why do I have to be like in this structure for 40 plus years and then retire? I don't
Mhm.
like these rules. Look, who made them?
Who made,
It's
hey, okay,
time to change them.
yeah, so let me ask you, in terms of the world, in terms of this ascension that we're going on, did that for you, in terms of job, in terms of the rules, in terms of this is who said this is the way that we need to go in life, is that what kind of triggered you also into this mass awakening that is going on at this time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
When I learned different ways to take care of my mind, I was I went through another big tsunami of, like, first of all, I was angry that I couldn't. Why don't we know these things? Why aren't we brought up with this education? You
Yeah.
know, and so I could have helped myself sooner. I could have helped my mom. I went through, like, I can't believe that people are still, I'm sorry, but I'm being myself, right? And this is how I express myself. But I want to say, how is it possible that we still have, these diseases?
Yeah.
And so my my whole world became, these are amazing tools, whatever. And everybody's so different, right? Somebody
Mhm.
could be like, oh, I love chanting and it really works for me to connect with myself. Perfect. I love it. Art, music, movement, driving, running, whatever it is, right? For me, these are different things. And I like to switch it up, you know what I mean? Like I am very disciplined with, like, my intention, but then I like, just every morning I'll just sit there for 2 hours and read and do my meditation. But sometimes it's just movement or listening to music, or I will just create something and just for myself. So it doesn't matter what it is, but when my focus became, the only thing that really matters is how I take care of myself, because that ripples out. I can't be taking care of like 47 people. Yes, that's very important and impactful, but then I'm drained and I can't I'm not centered. I'm not, no, it's not my natural state. So self-care, it was the, probably one of the, a lifesaver. And I mean, I think this is everybody's um, mm, opportunity is when we say, I don't have time for stuff like that, and it's okay. And I smile and okay, actually,
So
we have to
basically, they're
make
saying,
time.
I don't have time for me. That's
Yeah,
what they're saying.
exactly. We don't
Yeah.
have time for me. And my journey continues. I
Hmm.
discover, I say, this is another thing is to understand like what was that feeling of like what people say you have anxiety, and I'm like, I don't really know that that's it. Maybe that's it, right? Maybe I'm just like everything is moving really quickly and I absorb information and I don't know how to consume it, how to digest it, right? So I need these other tools and language, whatever I'm saying, and I'm sure you can understand beyond the words, but we need to be able to have tools to help us figure out what is our own language, what is the universe showing us. To me, it speaks with symbols. Like I'll see a Chinese character or an Egyptian hieroglyph, and I'm like, oh, isn't that amazing? This is like almost the same thing. So it's like a puzzle, and it's like very entertaining for me. The other people are like, wow, so boring, what a nerd. But I'm like, this is the best thing ever, and I could just be
So,
reading.
how have you learned to interpret those? Like when you see a symbol, do you investigate it? Or I'm assuming now certain symbols occur to you that you just know what they mean at this point. Yeah. How did that start for
Yeah,
you?
yeah, thank you for asking that question. So mm, first, probably because of my upbringing in Italy, I went to what we call Liceo Classico. So it's a high school that is, high school in Europe and Italy is quite different than from the States. But
Well, thank goodness
I
for that,
studied, yeah,
I
I
guess.
studied ancient Greek and philosophy and history, and of course all the other sciences because we had to. But
Mhm.
I was always drawn to the ancient people, and so when during the time where I couldn't figure out what was happening, I can't sleep. My mom, I wasn't speaking with my sister for 10 years at that time, and I was just like all alone. Within a relationship, I just went to my source of self-care, which was reading about the ancient people. So, this was like the ancient teachings of all ages, Manly P. Hall, Graham Hancock. I mean, all these books for me, I'm like, oh, what about the Etruscans? And I would just go review this information. So I was always drawn to these things. But in recent years, I I just like to pick up things like, oracle decks from the, people that I enjoy, like Normandi Ellis's writing, Nikki Scully, and about ancient Egypt. And then I studied the ancient Taoist texts with my training, and then I see the same exact principle between Hermetic principles, Taoist principles, and I'm like, well, isn't this fascinating? They probably have the same teachers, and this is it keeps coming up for me all the time. So for me, it's indication like, oh, but I have both information. I have this
Mhm.
information, and it's coming up, showing up, in things that we see. I am convinced that, in your space, whatever you have surrounding you, or when you're driving somewhere and you see things that catch your attention, it is information that your higher self is showing you in this way, right? Whether we ask the question or not, it's like, over here, pay attention. So I like to look at those things, shapes, colors, absolutely,
Okay.
sounds.
I like shapes. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, shapes. Me too. I like shapes.
Hmm.
Just like if you think about the shapes that you have around you, do you prefer the square or the round, or is it a triangular shape, or is it some shapes overlapping? So there's multi-dimension, or multiple dimensions if you put different shapes, right, one over the other. If you think about sacred geometry, and what is it that draws you to that? Because you can read all symbolism about what the shape means, but what it means to you may be something different, right? It's
Hmm.
sort of like dreams. And one thing I want to also add is that for me personally, dreaming has been one of the most impactful healing practices. And so as far as when you said what about these symbols, and so I receive a lot of the symbols in dreams, and then I go research them and go find out what is that. I think it's the island of Crete, and no, it's the island of Cyprus, but I saw it in my dream. And I kind of know geography. I mean, I used to know it really well, but so I would have something that I wake up in the morning and I have a good practice of handwriting down my dreams. But sometimes I would see a shape or a code, a symbol, and that I maybe have in my room. And then I have to go look and research what it is, online or in my books. And then if I can't figure it out, I'll ask questions and I'll pull out some cards and then I'll write about it. And then it comes out. I'm like, oh, so amazing. And then it's my message only for me. And I'm always mesmerized. I'm like, so clever.
So do you teach active dreaming?
I don't teach active dreaming, but I do guide individuals in our sessions through a guided journey. And whatever images I receive, I will share
Sure.
verbally, and then the person can also, envision that. So visualization is a huge part of the practice. And just like in yes, the ancient people, visualizing, dreaming, and we sometimes people only think, oh, dreaming, sleep dreaming. Yes, that too, very, very important. Absolutely, don't dismiss your dreams, but no, active dreaming such as journeying, and we call journeying shamanic journeys, or daydreaming. That became like, oh no, she goes daydreaming again. I'm like, yes, I am. But for years I was like, no, I'm not. you know
And noticing, for those of you that are listening, I'm going to pull this up. There are 7 singing bowls behind you.
Oh,
So, shapes. I know you do light language as well, and the toning. Like I also love with me, uh, where I am now, pulling in so many different practices. There's so many methodologies that I've learned, and you've learned a lot of them as well. What tell me about tones. What are sounds like for you?
right, tones. So in the last maybe 3 years, probably since I was opening verbally to or
Mhm.
with my voice to express light language, I I noticed that sometimes, besides um, whatever wants to come through, I just, you have to be in a state of,
Let go.
receptive surrender, like,
Mhm.
I don't need to get in the way with whatever's
Mhm.
happening up here. I say, as in thinking, I need to just kind of, whatever is for me, and I just know, and you trust whatever's happening for myself or another person. But what I notice is that maybe a certain tone would repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, like it to our physical ears, it may sound like, oh, what is happening? And
Mhm.
even because our conscious mind is still here. I mean, I'm still totally present, but it's like, wow, that's a little weird. But it feels totally like it's working deep and deep. So the repetition needs to be, it needs to happen the way it is showing up, but it's not for our physical ears to absorb or our thinking, So the toning, I like to tone. There are a lot of the chants that I personally do are from Taoist texts, or a lot of people do mantras, like, which is Hindu mantras, and they're very beautiful. But I wasn't trained that way, so I know a few, and they're mesmerizing and work beautifully, but I'm not too familiar. But I do know other chants that are, if you see them, they're in Chinese characters. Of course, we chant the sound, and some resonate in a way that I also use them in my sessions, even if the person doesn't know what it means. Like, I know the message, the vibration that is delivering. And so that's what we have to be in a centered and grounded and empty enough to be able to deliver that pure transmission, like vibration, instead of like, I want to create healing or whatever. Of course, that's very noble and beautiful too, but instead of our thinking to do the steering, because actually that's incomplete. So thinking, I think we're done with thinking, being in charge.
Yes. Yes, we are. That's been a lesson that I'm really working on right now. And I had to, in terms of light language, again, it's very interesting, letting go and just because it does recently there've been just some clicking that's coming from me, and it comes from down in my throat. And it's one of those things that is not humanly possible. Like, I listen to it sometimes, I'm like, how is this coming out of my throat? And then there's this humming too, that just this a wavelength that comes through that is really impossible. And just, and there's a part of when it's happening, you go, whoa, look at that. But then, okay, stop being mesmerized by it, even though it is really cool, and just really be empty. I love that word. And just go with it and just let it be. And whatever needs to come up, just open to it. Just, yeah, trust it and go. Tell me about cosmic ocean frequencies. What does that mean exactly?
Right. Yeah. So when I was going through some of the initiatory training to more advanced spiritual training with QiGong practices, we went through, I was guided through, I can call it a shamanic journey, but it was more advanced. They wouldn't call it this way, but the teachers helped us facilitate a space where, through certain forms of training, which I can describe shortly, we could interpret our soul's name, and or the vibration, the transmission that we would receive was when I say the soul name, we
Yeah.
can't be stuck on the word name, more of like the soul's transmission, as in like the mission or your role. And it may change, but at this time, this is what you're going to be delivered, what is going to be delivered to you. So what I received, and then I was helped in being interpreted, because it's a facilitated journey where someone is helping you see as well. And this is kind of a very high level training. That high level doesn't mean like it's somebody better than anybody else could take it, but it requires a lot of physical training to be able to get
Okay, so
out of
let's
your
just say
mind.
it's very deep.
It's very
Very
deep.
deep.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And so the name that came to me was the current that moves the ocean. And then it was simplified because it is put in characters where the sound is very important. So the characters and the sound translated in English are cosmic ocean. And so then I wanted to use that as my own. This is what I want to transmit. And so going back to what does that mean? So cosmic ocean, to me, it made perfect sense, because besides the fact that I love the ocean, I'm an ocean person, even though I have the desert behind me, I have the ocean in the other room. Anyways, I that the primordial waters in all ancient traditions represent infinite potential. It's like flowing of both energies, yin and yang, negative, positive. So the primordial waters held the original four pairs of cosmic beings, which are light, darkness, time, and space. So it is a place where everything can be created, but it holds the energy of wiping everything out. So destruction, clearing, and then rebirth. So it's forces. So when we feel like, so for me, my experience of going through what is happening with my alignment, like I always felt like this alignment, we always do this with alignment. We think only internal 7 chakras. And I'm like, no, how about this alignment this way? Like a sphere instead of, like only one line.
Shape.
So
Right.
more yeah, there are many dimensions of alignment. And so when I felt like contraction or expansion, I feel like I'm going through or I'm experiencing the flow of the ocean going in the other direction. I want to go this way, but we need to go that way instead now. So to like that flexibility and that mental flexibility, and then we use our body. So through my training, I learned that physical exercises, exercise is such a superficial word, help our mind, which I speak of mind in the heart, not mind here, mind, um, to adapt to changes because we need to flow. And that's why all the, not all, but many Tai Chi or QiGong postures help you kind of have a strong, a pyramid, like a strong base, strong and stable, not upside down pyramid where something happens in life and you're like, off your center. And it's okay because we have to follow these are laws of nature, right? So like good and bad and happy, it's sad. But then you're like too extreme is never good, right? Like if the pendulum swings this way, I won the lottery. It's like so not a balanced emotion. And then the opposite will inevitably occur no matter what. And so if, we need to be able to kind of be in the middle most of the time. So if we become really good surfers, we
Yes.
can, adjust. And so that's the cosmic ocean frequencies. And frequencies is your vibration. I speak of myself. Like I always have to ask myself, who am I? What do I want? What do I want to experience? And so it comes back to like, we got to bring all those pieces of ourselves back in, hold them, hug them, all the pieces that we think like, well, that doesn't deserve my time. Instead, they do. And then from there, like outward. So in first, out. So
So that the cosmic earth ocean frequencies, that is your creation. That is your
mhm.
okay. Oh, I was going to ask. Okay, give me just a second.
Sure, maybe I can add in sessions
Yes.
because they're very unique. They would, besides physical movement to help us, come back to this moment because
Yes.
the body is dense, we feel it. So we to
Hmm.
pay attention and slow down whatever's happening up here and up here and in here. We focusing on the body, paying attention, right? So we move our body, and then we do different practices to purify the minds. And the
Neat.
minds meaning, your emotions, your thinking, your body. It hurts. I like it. I don't like it. Way too much thinking. So
Hmm.
to get to a state where we can be a little bit more relaxed, so brain waves slow down and our nervous systems uh, kind of self-regulate. This is all medicine. We have everything that we need to take care of ourselves. And so there's a series of things that we would do, and it depends, right? So if there's someone that's very active and very strong, I would have them do vibration, which is shaking your body for a long time. Usually we would do shaking, I've seen in many classes, only a couple minutes shaking your body. It's amazing practice, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it
I like
is.
to shake for a long time because sometimes it takes us several minutes to unplug, to
And
really like understand what is happening, what kind of information am I receiving now, how
okay.
can, and then there would be the dynamic meditation. So move, of course I would
Nice.
guide people through a movement or, like a Qigong movement, but I prefer when I guide people to express their own light language. And, so like our body will know how to move in certain ways to help whatever's in pain. And the pain may not be physical, it may, right? But it may be like, I'm just worried about something, or I'm like overworked or something. It could be that it didn't reach like I have a pinched nerve yet, and it's okay. But whatever it is, the body will know how to move. But we need to be able to get to that state instead of like move your body. Like, no, a lot of people are, performing, would
And it's
think, oh, I
very
have to perform.
right. So my training too is a very Taoist oriented training too. And again, it's not a religion, it's just a philosophy in terms of energy is within everything. So I've learned through the years too to not only with light language, so letting your voice out, but being able to let your body move in ways that initially when it starts, you're like, what's going on? I'm just going to let it go. So I feel shaking was really important for me. So I still utilize that, especially for high energy. I think you talked about it for yourself too. I through this process much better, yet there's still more, so much. My nervous system is just, I can take in a lot. I have lots of energy. So to be able to shake it off sometimes for me is necessary. And I
Mhm.
really think it's unique too that your methodology really combines movement in it as well.
Right.
So quiet as well as movement at the same time. I think that's
Mhm.
great. Hey, take a second. We're going to go into the Just Be practice in a moment. Tell me about Beads of Light, and that's soon to be published early in 2024. When are you expecting that?
Yes, at the end of March. We hope for
Oh,
the
exciting.
equinox. We will see. Yes. Thank you. Beads of light represent, I always say beads of light when I talk about, bringing parts of ourselves, beautiful, bright, brilliant energy in. And so it just was a no-brainer for me to like title the book Beads of
Mhm.
Light, because they represent parts of our soul coming back to like, you know, the docking station. And
Beautiful.
it's my story. I do infuse many, but I mean many dreams that I've had that are that help um, understand what was happening in my subconscious mind or
Yeah.
unconscious mind, and both, and in my everyday awake life. So these are just some practices that and then some of my practices, like what I experience as energy centers and what was shown to me as an expansion of our alignment processes. And so there's a lot of my own, like me, like consciously explaining my processes through life, my big changes, navigating change and how to take care of your mind and what that means. So the practices that I share there, including dreaming, is just it's kind of like, maybe this may help some people. Pay attention
Right.
to your dreams, pay attention to symbols that you see, and maybe, don't be so serious and think of like, what's important, and asking the questions to yourself, because nobody else
Mhm.
can tell you. It's kind of like when someone says, oh, let me tell you about your dream. No, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
It's internal. Of course, everybody will have an opinion, but that's it. To be kind of like aware. Oh, I'm gonna gather all kinds of information to help me move forward, but the information, then I have to see which one is right for me and then discard the rest, right?
Mhm.
I think.
Beautiful. All right. Good luck. All of us wishing you luck on that. I do have one more question before we. So, in terms of connecting people to their star families, how do you do that?
Right. So during sessions, the whether it's even qigong session or just more physical movement, or angelic earth resonance session, when I guide people through a meditation or whatever it is that, or even standing process,
Yes.
then whoever shows up for them, and I know the difference between like, oh, these are my people, and then
Hmm.
this is for you. Then I would help the individual, see that as well, or invite them to like, at that level to like be part of it and describe. And then with the gift, like once you, after some movement and practices to really like find that connection, because it's all about like, who is talking, as in like your expression, right? So find that connection with your higher self. You will receive whatever information. So through the journey, whatever, and I'm not, I'm just a transfer device. So I'm just helping like, oh, this is what's happening. Does it make sense for you? No, okay, just take it anyways. It's beautiful. And we go through this beautiful journey, and some of them will know what that means for them, right? But I can experience, different forms of light language, and I don't know all the star people. I can do some research, but um, I actually purposely don't do too much research about that because there's a lot of resources out there, and I feel like sometimes I don't want to say information that I don't want to pollute, let's say, and it's valid, I'm just saying, I just want to say or express whatever I feel that is the information, whether it's a being from Sirius or Hades or the Pleiades. I mean, I don't want to be influenced by someone told me or I read they look like this because
Gotcha.
maybe it's not right. I have a guy that looks like a little old small person, and he's old and he doesn't speak, and he's from the Pleiades, but he does not look like, if you Google Pleiades people, they're, you know
Blonde hair
angelic.
and just, yes,
Yes,
just,
yes,
very
and
attractive. And they all look like they're in their 20s.
it's funny.
I really appreciate you saying that too, because the galaxy, star families, it's so vast. I don't think anyone knows everything. Let me see how to say that. That there's more information that is coming all the time, and just being open to whatever you receive, because that's kind of the same thing for me. Like I've studied some, but it just, then there's this, and then I study more, and then there's this. So to attach to it and detach to it the whole time, and just it's all about trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting that I love that too, that the person showing up for you, they know that you are just here to help facilitate, yet they know.
Yes, they know. And I mean, the best thing is that for the effect in that person, of course,
Mm,
as a, someone that can facilitate such a space, I feel so like amazing that,
right.
I get to be swimming in these wonderful, the goodness, but, it's more like, oh, how did you experience something? And sometimes, and it happened many times, that they're in such a deep state of presence that their conscious mind is like, I don't know these terms, but it looks like they're falling asleep, but they're not, but they're in such, they're like wrapped, and I'm like, oh, so lovely. And like,
Mm,
I experienced this in a state of more of who we are, more,
more.
so more.
And there's always more. There's always more, ain't there?
Yes, it's
Excitingly.
beautiful.
Okay. Are you okay to transition to the practice? And if that's cool, what are you going to do for us today?
Sure.
Just be
Yeah, well,
practice.
let's see. Maybe we can do a brief meditation. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, you ready? Okay, first let's rub our
Yes.
hands and let's our
Oh,
fingers
yeah. If you
into
could
each
do some
other.
motion in there, that'd be great. All right.
Motion. And let's rub our hands and then start feeling your hands. Okay, and now with your fingers, make like a tiger claw, and then tap tiger claw, and then tap the sides of your neck, sides of the neck. And then just be gentle with the sides of the neck. And let's take deep breaths in into your chest and breathe out. Keep tapping, but move down to the base of the throat and breathe in and breathe out. And then down center of your chest, fingertips, breathe in, slowing down and breathe out. Hear your breath, empty your lungs and slowly stop, and both hands on your chest, and just feel your chest for just a moment, relaxing your gaze or closing your eyes. And just notice the sensations of touch in your palms, on your chest, the breathing motion, find your heart rate. Good, and now just relax your arms, sit on your laps, palms down, palms up, it doesn't matter. And then maybe move your spine a little bit. Move your neck, especially if you're thinking, move your head, feel your neck, move your spine a little. If you're leaning back on a chair, please move forward a little bit and then fully come to a stop. And again, with your gaze relaxed towards the floor, with your neck straight or eyes closed, let's visualize your pillar of light. So a beautiful string of light right in front of your spine. Push the sky with the top of the head, aligning, noticing the sensations in the neck, and come down to the space in the lower belly. Please relax your belly. Now, using your mind screen, please visualize the space just above your head and the space below your feet, connecting the energy line to the space above your head and below your feet. Let's draw the energy from the earth through the space below your feet, right into your feet, whether you're sitting or standing. Expanding the energy through the rest of your body, moving up. And at the same time, we can visualize a beautiful cosmic bright energy coming in through the space just above your head and trickling down, little beads of light into the crown chakra, moving down through your energy line and meeting the energies of the earth as you come down. Please feel the center of your chest. Bring the energy down, all the way down past your feet and into the earth. Very good. Now please visualize the center of your body in the lower abdomen, a beautiful, bright sphere of light in the center of your body. This is a lower tanjan or a tantian. The energy source, Earth's palace. From here, please merge the energies of the cosmos and the energies of the earth in the center of your body, and visualize it breathe and expand in brightness and size. Notice what color it is for you today, what shape, and expand the brightness, light, and size as you breathe in with the earth and the cosmos in the center of your body. Please visualize your energy sphere becoming bigger and bigger, moving outwards through the many, many layers of your energy and spiritual bodies, outwards in all directions. Feel the lightness in your physical form, merging physical sensations, energy sensations. Imagine your outer layer of your energy fields just like a sponge. Breathing in, pulling the energy back in to the center of the body, as if it was a magnet. And allowing any miscommunication to be transformed in useful information. Miscommunication or tears in the energy field, and the barriers between the energy fields to be smooth. Allow the breathing, physical breathing, energy breathing, spiritual breathing to merge and become one with the rhythm of the whole universe. Good. Now come back closer and closer. Bringing bright golden energy back in, infusing every single layer of your energy fields, and come back in with your awareness into the center of your energy center in the lower abdomen. Feeling your physical body, breathing in and out. Good. Now please look forward. Let's lift the arms slowly out to the side, very gently, making a motion with your palms up and lifting the arms, breathing in, bending the elbows, and with your palms facing down, slowly come down, sweeping down the front of your chakra systems, entrance of the chakras. And 2 more times, lifting the arms, allowing the energy of the earth to rise through the back of your whole body, creating a perfect orbit, balancing energies of the earth and the cosmos, and bring down energies of the skies down. And once more, lifting. And then, of course, you can just do this in your mind. You can visualize yourself making the movements. So good. Now let's rub our hands together once again. Feel your hands. If they're soft, cold, hot, just notice. And then let's make a motion of rubbing our face in a circular motion, touching, no touching, doesn't matter. Feel your hair, massage your hair and the neck, shoulder squeeze, and then sweep down in the shoulder. Caress your body, the lower back. Okay. Very nice. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you. I have to tell you, Enrica, I don't have any tattoos. I have never felt that that was a thing for me. Yet I've been feeling recently some sort of sacred geometry on my back. This was like I've seen shapes before in meditation, but this was dramatic this time. So I saw simple shapes initially, like a triangle, a circle, and then they started all combining into these wonderful, massive, which is an interesting word to use, massive collection of intricacies of combining. So it was
Beautiful.
yeah, it was neat to, because I'm still considering it. I don't know if I'll do it, but that just helped me move more towards again, I don't know what I'm going to do. What do you think about that? What do you think about a tattoo on my back with the sacred?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
I would like a giant humpback whale on my back. I might do that. We will see.
Do you have any
Yes,
tattoos?
no,
I don't know, because I always was
I
thinking
will.
like there's at this point nothing that I would want on my body for the rest of my life because I change all the time. So I'm still
Sure.
considering, if I get something, maybe that symbol would change or it would grow, or maybe I would have it grow on my back. I don't know. Thank
I
you.
wonder if you can try to draw it out yourself, even if
Ooh,
it's layers, and then write about each symbol or each, because, sometimes I received many of the symbols in dreams too, and I would try, and I can't draw. Like, I don't know
mhm.
how to, I mean, I can, I guess, you shouldn't say I can't, but, I'm not a trained, anything. So I don't know how to draw anything, and I would draw it and then write, what does it mean? What is it
Right.
supposed to mean to me? So that happened many times.
Oh my gosh, because I
So
had been
write it.
thinking that I would look up sacred symbols versus me having my own symbol for myself. Oh my gosh. Woo, that was brilliant. Thank you so much for helping me with that. I didn't even think I would be bringing that up today, tattoos. Thank you so
My
much
pleasure.
for
Thank you.
bringing your heart here. I love doing some of the movement as well. I think that's so key, and like stillness is great, but even moving into the stillness I think is awesome as well. Okay, so I'm going to put your cosmic ocean frequencies.com. It's going to be on it's going to be listed in all the detail, but it's going to be put on the screen as well. All right, what's it like there today in Italy? Oh, let me bring this up. I am in Ohio. I'm looking out my window right now. Okay,
Yes.
knowing that the weather, there's so much that's being manipulated. We are supposed to get, it's dreary. It's dreary here a lot, but that's okay. And that's okay. 4 inches of rain
No,
today.
wow.
4 inches. And it doesn't rain that much here, and that might change to snow. I don't know. What's the weather like for you today?
Well, it's there's a north wind, so it's crystal clear. It is
Oh,
like, if you look outside the window, you just want to go to the beach, except it's 9 Celsius, so I don't know, 48 degrees, 50
uh-huh.
maybe. So it's not, maybe, I don't know, it's
Okay.
not warm, but it's a beautiful, beautiful
I like
weather.
that crispiness because I put around me today that my house is good. Like there's this bright light. So I will take that crispiness and also
Yes.
bring that into my soul. All right, you. See you
Thank you.
later.
Yeah,
See all of
bye.
y'all next week.
Bye.
You are here. Awesome. Connect with me via Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, and you might be watching this on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, or listening to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of the 19 audio directories. Please connect, comment, subscribe, like. Yum!